Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion passes. Item number 4, approval of the minutes. Need a motion to approve the minutes dated January 13, 2020. Motion by Haas, supported by Sauger. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, please vote. Motion passes. Next is public participation. Anyone from the public wishing to speak? Going once, twice, third time, closing public participation. Item number 6, department recommendation. Support agreement with Metro Controls. Lynn.
Hello. The building management system that we have is called Automated Logic. What that does, it allows us to monitor and control major components of HVAC equipment in the various facilities. It also allows us to stop and start equipment. We can adjust temperatures. We can open and close dampers, and we can address irregularities that we see in the system. The funding for this agreement is through the Facilities and Operations Operating Budget. Metro Control is the authorized dealer for Automated Logic Controls. They are located in Clinton Township. We are recommending approval of this service agreement, and it is the same price as last year.
Seeing no questions. Commissioner Andre Rouget.
Thank you. Thank you, Lynn. I was going to ask you this before. Since this controls a whole bunch of units just about county-wide, is it safe to say that by having control of all this that we probably save a good portion of this in utilities?
Yes.
As it goes forward?
Yes. Now, some buildings, we have controls on all the major pieces of equipment. There are other buildings that as we get new equipment, we are putting the updated controls on.
So basically, there's a payoff on this in savings on utilities.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to make sure of. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Drolet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you. Lynn, is this something that we're going through this firm because we've used them in the past? Is it something that we should be bidding out, should not be bidding out?
We have Automated Logic Controls on the equipment, and they are the local authorized dealer of Automated Logic Controls. If we went to a different control system, we'd have to replace all our controls throughout the facilities.
Okay, so how do they determine their rates? I mean, couldn't they say, well, you're stuck with us, we're going to raise the rates substantially? Does this change substantially from last year's?
No, this is the same cost as last year's.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Ha.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Lynn, to your credit, it's not frequently here same cost as last year. So however you made that work, congratulations.
Thank you.
No other speakers, just real quick. On that note, I think it was Johnson & Johnson, or one of them we were with before with the controls, and it was only that company that we had a contract with. So now the control system that she has set up now, which did go out for bid at the time she went and purchased it, after that you're stuck with it until you actually change who your driver is. With that, the last question I have, Lynn, will this interface with the program you're buying for the rest of the management of your systems and everything? Does this interface at all with that?
Not really. The other system that I was talking about, or the scanning project, is actually getting the building information together, and that we can use it for the work orders, and also that the trades personnel would have all the information at their fingertips. They can put in the maintenance when they're doing maintenance, so we can bring up the maintenance history on the equipment.
Thank you. With that, a motion by Commissioner Leonetti, supported by Commissioner Romano. Commissioner Drollet.
Sorry about that, thank you. Lynn, would it make sense, or is it possible to maybe even do a 2 or 3 year contract with them, kind of lock in the rates, or does that not make sense?
We could explore that in the future.
Okay, it'd be interesting to see if that might, great to get no increase if we could, lock that down, so, thank you.
Thank you. No other questions? Please vote. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number B, contract amendment, the Department of Army, Macomb County Drain Digitalization Study for Public Works. Jaco, welcome.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I think you're very familiar with the digitization project for Public Works. We came last year with this project to you, and it's done on a 50-50 basis with us and the Army Corps. What I'm asking for today is not a budget amendment, but an increase to the contract of $47,500. The reason for that, the reason there's no budget amendment, it's an in-kind contribution. So the contribution from the county's perspective is higher in personnel provided and things like that. So we're increasing the contract amount, the total contract amount, above that 5%, but there's really no financial impact on the county. At the end of the project, we get half of that, $23,750, back from the Army Corps. And there's also a contingency of about $10,000 that we anticipate at this point in time that we will get back from the Army Corps, because they don't anticipate any scenario where we will spend that. So we're not asking for extra money. We just bring you this contract because the contract size increased.
And we'll look for a motion. Commissioner Majek, supported by Commissioner Leonetti. Any discussion? Commissioner Romano.
Thank you, Chair. Jaco, you mentioned here that this will ensure critical backups in the event of a disaster. What kind of backups do you have on that?
On this project?
When you digitize, what type of backup is
the
it?
digitization. All the documents are scanned into a system. We have a complete redundant setup. We have on IT side, we have a system called Avamar, where we do the backups. We have 2 of those systems that sits in 2 data centers. So from a geographical standpoint, they separate it. It's a pretty good redundant environment to make sure that we don't lose data.
One goes down, the other one's still working fine.
Yep.
And the last one is, you've got down here freeing up office space for day-to-day operations. Can you elaborate on that? Just what do you mean freeing up? We got 2 or 3.
That's in Public Works. Currently, they have quite a bit of office space dedicated to all these files that sits there.
Just dead space that they're sticking the files in?
Dead space that's just occupied by files. So at this point in time, once this project's done and the files that has been scanned and that's in there, they can get rid of those files. So it'll free up space.
Thanks, Jacob. That's all I have. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Drollet.
Thank you, Chair. Jaco, thanks much. So are you saying that this amount that we're adjusting the budget for is not in actual dollars, but it's in our contribution of personnel, services, and that sort of thing?
It's additional services provided by Macomb County to get this project done. So on Public Works side, there's quite a bit of work that they have to do with their personnel, IT side, and so forth. All that goes into this in-kind contribution.
And then that in-kind contribution, is that leveraging more resources or more money from the Army?
More resources from our end.
Okay.
And then the Army Corps pay 50% of the whole project. So they actually pay half of that in-kind contribution they pay.
They pay that in cash, or they pay that in
As
additional
a contribution
services
to the
too?
project, yes.
Okay.
And then like I said, our 50% we get back at the end of the project.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that, Jacob.
Thank you.
No other questions? Please vote. Motion passes. Item number 6C is in Charlie. This is taking the services of the Internet, Centric Service, Flexible Reach, AT&T, and dedicated Internet, of taking these monthly and combine them into yearly for a savings.
Yeah, so this is the AT&T contracts every 2 to 3 years, depending on the contract that we have with AT&T. We have to renew the contracts with them. As you can understand, over the past few years, the contracts have changed quite a bit because moving away from copper, into fiber and other technologies. So the contracts that we have today is a little different than the contracts we had yesterday. But the very first one, the switch Ethernet services, those are what we call circuits, and they provide us the ability to have fiber out to any of our CVTs or so on. It's very expensive to lay fiber ourselves, not the fiber itself, but it's expensive, the work that's involved in that. So that's a monthly payment that we make to AT&T to get those circuits in place. The next one is our Centrex service. It's kind of a relic of what we used to have, Centrex, which was just copper lines, but we still have Centrex lines today because of fire alarms, elevator alarms, things like that. We still have to have copper. These services have increased significantly over the past few years. I would say last 3 to 4 years. And we are working with AT&T and others to try and figure out what we can do next. There's still some regulations in place that you cannot, that you have to use copper lines. But, at this point in time, I think they are working very hard to get rid of those regulations so that we can use things like wireless technology and so on for those type of services. The third one there, the IP Flex, that is what we call our internet call paths. So in the past, it was a physical phone line that came into your office that when somebody dials you. Now, we have 2 internet connections, 2 separate internet connections. The one is at the Sheriff's Department, the one is at Comtech. And it's 2 fiber connections to the county. And you provide call paths through the fiber, so it's switched environment. And those provide the phone lines that we had in the past. So our VoIP system today work on those call paths. So that's what the third contract is for. And then the fourth contract is our internet connection to the county. We have one coming in at Comtech, and we have one coming in at the Sheriff's Department. Main reason for that redundancy is obviously for systems that are 24/7 and where high availability is needed. So those are the 4 different services, and we do have also another, I think they call it Complete, another contract with AT&T, but that doesn't expire this year. I think it expires next year. So that we will do separately, but those are also include things like our POTS lines, which is the plain old telephone lines that is not Centrex.
Thank you. With that, a motion by Commissioner Druze. Are you supporting? There's quite a few questions. Okay.
I support.
Support by Commissioner Hall. On the list, we have Commissioner Hall, Drolet, Leonetti, and Brown. I have a couple of quick questions for you first. First of all, when it says toll-free on that AT&T, can you explain to me why we have a toll-free number?
There is 1 or 2, I cannot give you that answer right away, but I know there's 1 or 2 places in the county where we have toll-free numbers, and I think I speak under correction, but it would be something like a suicide hotline or something like that. It's in the health department. Yeah, it's at the health department, but I have to verify exactly what it's for.
And the reason why I'm asking, because if you're calling within the county, it shouldn't be long distance, so I'm wondering why you have a toll-free number. And if somebody can explain that to me, I don't have to belabor this meeting, but that cost of a toll-free number is very expensive. And back in the day, I could see that probably in the late 70s, early 80s. But since 2000, I think anywhere in Macomb County from a landline is not long distance. So that's something I think we should probably take a look at because they are quite expensive, number one. Number two, you need to explain to me the savings. Because I totaled up, I read in the report the $66,000 savings. Well, I looked at it and I said, okay, I totaled this all up for 3 years is $686,847.60. And you're budgeting not to exceed $775,000, which is a difference of $88,152.40. So the numbers aren't adding up, and I'm not understanding it. And why would we be approving something not to exceed 775 when we're $88,000, $88,175?
The 775 is the budget that we have for telecom for these purposes.
So we can reduce that budget, obviously, because it's going to be less than
No,
that.
because there's other things that's not included in these contracts, like I mentioned, the complete part of it, which is not big, but also Verizon. Our cell phone bills also is paid from the same bill.
And that's fine, but
So there's other costs.
where is
It's
the
not
actual
just
savings? Because it's
AT&T.
not giving me what we paid.
The actual savings, I'll
Of
explain to you.
$66,000, I went through it
It's
and I
over
also
3
read
years.
one or two of them, they are not discounting you, correct, for paying up front?
No.
Then,
So the actual saving is over 3 years that they talk about. There's an increase on the one line on the Centrex side of $120 per line per month. On the IP Flex contract, the contract is reducing from 4,429 to 3,349. So it's about $1,080 saving per month. And then same thing on the internet side, there's about $1,339 saving per month on those. Those added up is about $29,000 of savings. And like I said, the 120 per line on the Centrex side increased the cost. So it's around about that, just over $20,000.
okay, because I thought I read
Over 3 years.
I thought I read $66,000 savings
Over 3 years.
over 3 years.
Yeah, so it's about 22 times 3.
Okay, so my last question for you, is this savings because we are paying yearly, or is this something that just our monthly payments being reduced?
So when we sit down with AT&T every time when these contracts come up, we sit and we negotiate with them, because one of the things is we're trying to reduce our copper lines, and they used to have this thing where they commit us to having, say, 200 phone lines. You always have to pay for 200 phone lines. They really reduce those type of things to make sure that we don't have those commitments, because our goal is to get rid of. So that's one of the things that we do. But also in cost in general, we always ask them to, help us out and reduce our cost. And after those discussions, that's the numbers that we have here. That's what
Okay,
we're
my
using
question
for.
is this a one-time 12-month payment, or is this a monthly payment?
No, it's monthly.
Okay, it is
Yep.
monthly.
Yep.
Well, I would probably ask them if we can get a discount for paying it in advance. Might get a 7% discount on that.
I completely understand what you're saying, Commissioner, but I would be very careful with AT&T to go and pay a year in advance.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Ha.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You asked 3 out of the 4 questions that I had. 'Cause I couldn't find the savings either, but thank you for that explanation, Jacob. Is this 1, 2, 3, 4? Are these all the contracts we have with AT&T, or are there more?
Those are 4. I think I know there's a 5th one, which is I think they call it Complete Link, actually, which is our overall contract, and that also covers POTS lines. But that's like an overall cost contract, and I think that one expired probably the last time about 2 years ago. So if it's a 3-year contract 2 years ago, so it expires next year.
So to follow on the chairman's question, rolling this all into one ball and negotiating at one time, you're saying we can get savings, but it's not a good idea to pay them upfront in a large amount of money because you don't know what's gonna come back later, right?
No.
Okay.
I just, in working with AT&T for many, many years, and their, especially their billing system, I just, it's very, very difficult to keep track of the money that goes in and out. And when you get credits on money, on accounts, it's many times, I mean, frequently not applied to the same account. It's quite difficult. So we like to do it on a monthly basis. And actually, I came to the board last year with a company that's going to take this over. We're actually in the process of implementing that at this time. The company used software to manage the AT&T accounts. So we feel that we're going to be much better off doing it that way.
Thank you. The one that I did miss on here, though, was the enhanced 911 fee, so we'll let that go.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chairman.
Hey, Commissioner Drolak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You also asked the questions, many of the questions I was going to ask. So thank you. And Jaco, thank you for finding a way to save us a few dollars. I appreciate that very much. I think that's helpful. Sounds like working with AT&T is kind of like working with Comcast and trying to keep track of your cable bill. You know, it's always a deal and it's not a deal. Thank you.
That's right.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Brown.
Do these savings also go out to we run cable and fiber out to some of the outbuildings out around the county. Does this cover those costs as well?
Where we do have some of those circuits that we talked about, and we do have those phone lines in different locations in the county, you know, all over the county. In some cases, that's the only connectivity we have of the very small outlying areas. Is
Like
just
the
a
Romeo
straight
Court
phone.
way in the north end of the county. We
have fiber.
We ran the telegraph wire out there.
We have fiber out there owned by us, so they actually have a very good connection back to the
The
county.
telegraph's working pretty good now, but, all right. My other question was asked by the chairman. Thank you, good job, Jim. Those are good questions, and thank you. Thank you, Jaco.
You're welcome.
All right. Hi, Jaco. So I have a question, and it kind of goes to Commissioner Carabelli's question about the toll-free number. It's $40,000 for toll-free. I'm wondering.
No, that's not what it is.
Oh, that's part of it? Okay.
No, they just
'Cause I'm
call
wondering-
that the toll-free number is, the cost of the toll-free number is very low. I'll get you
It
those
is, okay.
numbers, Commissioner.
That's fine, because I'm looking at that, it's like, holy cow, we could do some kind of reverse charge type thing for the amount of toll-free calls we probably get every year and save some money on that. And then we're doing a lot of work with AT&T, but I know we have a lot of our phone systems with Verizon. Is there ever a thought about, you know, a major group discount with bringing phone systems in the same, with AT&T or vice versa, or is that just not a good practice?
We've gone back and forth many times, you know, especially in the public safety line of business, and, you know, coverage with Verizon has always been the best. And we've literally switched over parts of the sheriff's department at times, and they ask us to switch them back. And we've done the same with the medical examiner. Those are critical departments that, you know, and eventually switch them back. Because if you remember, quite
all
a
those
while
commercials
ago,
aren't
there was-
true?
What's
All
that?
those commercials aren't true? No?
No, AT&T has very good coverage, but, and you know, our police cars, for example, they use AT&T modems, not Verizon. But with that modem, we also have to buy a signal booster, a pretty expensive signal booster to make sure that they don't lose connectivity. So, you know, with a regular phone, you don't want to go and add additional cost to try and keep lines up, so.
Sure, thank you.
So, but we do keep that in mind all the time,
Got it.
you know, to have good service available.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Kleinfeld.
I just wanted to say if I hadn't had technical difficulties, I believe I would have had the same questions as Chair Carabelli.
Thank you. Jaco, I want to leave two things with you, and you don't need to answer them. one of the most important things that I've discovered in government is that when we're having these bills with these utilities, is that somehow they mistakenly put taxes on some of the stuff that we do. So I ask that you guys go through those bills and make sure that we're not paying any taxes.
absolutely.
Number two, and again, you don't have to answer this now, I think you should take a strong look at the incoming network into that jail facility. You don't need to explain why, but if something happens, they build a new jail, they do something else, and that's one of the 2 points of connectivity, I think you may want to look at a third option, so that when there's a construction issue and everything else going on, and if they do build a new jail. Again, you don't have to answer that now, but just wanted to give that food for thought. And with no other questions, please vote. Motion passes, forwarding this to the full board. Thank you, sir. Item number 7, any new business? Commissioner Majek.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to speak very briefly.
Okay, time's up. Any other commission?
The Chapaton Retention Basin, we had a couple of drain board meetings there. Marv was there, Harold and Veronica, and if I miss anything, please speak up on that. So the state is basically denying us the ability to do what we need to do with the Chapaton. They're denying the permits. So far, the Public Works Office has spent, I believe, about $500,000 on this project. For whatever reason, the state says, some of that land there belongs to the state and shouldn't be touched. It's kind of strange that they say that, but yet it's okay for the wastewater, the bad water, to be discharged. So they're being difficult with that. Candace is working hard to try and get them information, what they want, but they're just kind of saying, no, we need this information, we need that. So in her opinion, this is not my words, this is her, she feels that ultimately they're going to deny it and say no. So that's where we're at right now. So the recourse is, we talked about this a little bit, that maybe we can get some type of non-partisan support. Kevin Hertel, he represents that area, and we can get some state legislatures to sponsor a bill that would change that. So in essence, they would say we want ECHO, or we want Chapaton to be built up and to deny what ECHO wants to do. But we have to be careful with that to not be too partisan. We don't want this is not a partisan issue at all. There's not one public servant that we know of that is against this, at least here locally in Macomb County. So we would have to be careful with that. You have to have bipartisan support for that. Because I am seeing Whitmer at a fundraiser at the end of next week. I'm going to talk to her about this. I really don't know her at all, but I would talk to her about that. So that's all that's going down with that. But again, that's what's needed is a change to state law. I know that Stabenow, Peters, and Congressman Levin have all toured the Chapaton, and I'm sure maybe we can get letters of support from them to support this project. I don't know. It's certainly something we want to try. The downside of this is that we're going to probably lose the construction season this year. So far it looks like it's going to be a no, and this is according to Candace's words, not mine, that we lose this construction season. So I have nothing else to add on this. I think Public Services, she's going to be coming to our board, I believe, next month. But if you have any questions, please let me know. And Harold and Veronica, if I missed anything, please let me know. Thank you, Chairman.
Take hot showers.
Thank you. Under new business, we had asked Ernest to come up and speak. He couldn't make it the last meeting to the next meeting without objection. If it gives latitude, community action, if you wanted to come up and give you 3 minutes.
Yeah, appreciate it. I was planning to wait to public participation, and I can do that as well. I appreciate the time. I just wanted to come and plug you all about the census. As you may know, Macomb County is doing census outreach. I'll give you the door knockers this way. So you see it's branded Count of Macomb. Count of Macomb is a Census 2020 outreach for the county. I just wanted to make all the commissioners aware of it because we're working hard in internally in the county and externally in our communities. And I knew that the commissioners would have some ideas about engagement and partnership. So let me just tell you 2 seconds some of what we're doing. Within Macomb Community Action, we're doing a lot. We're on the front lines in our community every day. We have thousands of residents we interact with at our community centers, at the Family Resource Center, through our Meals on Wheels program, through our home injury control program. All of our services encounter residents. So when Macomb Community Action sees residents come to our centers, when we go out to the homes, we're going to be passing out information about the census. Internally in the county, I was just working with Fred Miller at the clerk's office. The clerk sees about 8,000 residents a month. So we had talked with Fred and we said this is a natural point of interaction. When a county resident comes in to give you a form, when they're filing their normal form, they get their invoice, they get their receipt, slap a census material on there, right? So we want everybody to see something and say something when they interact with the county. That's the base expectation we should have. This is our footprint. When residents interact with the county government, they should hear about this and know why it's all important. We also recorded a series of PSAs. You'll see on public access TV, on your radio. We got a lot of the OCE to participate. You'll see Mark's new commercial. His tagline is Census 2020, bring back the money. Because you would be surprised how often I hear, as a director of Macomb Community Action, the census just benefits poor people. It's just about people on public assistance. It's just about people who need food stamps. It's just about free school lunches. It's just about the handouts. It's simply not true. It's about our road funding. It's about small business tax credits. It's about tax increment financing. It's about economic development. The average statistic that's put out there is $1,800 a year per person. That's $272 million a year Macomb County could have had if we had a better census rate in 2010. This is big money all across all the funding formulas. This is small businesses, to the school lunch program. So I just wanted to come before you to let you know that we're working hard on it. The county will see a Count on Macomb website put up tomorrow meeting with our planning and economic development team. They're doing a bunch of branding with us. We went and spoke with all the superintendents of all the school districts. We'll be in the schools. We'll be at their Friday night basketball games, getting in front of the community. We're working with the Suburban Library Cooperative. We're going to make sure all the libraries are access sites. So we're doing a lot around the county, but we know that commissioners have a unique insight into their communities. If you can think about outreach that work for your community, or more so, here's a big request for this plug, if you can think about partners that are trusted voices within that community, let us know. We're giving out money. We're giving out support. We just worked with the Chaldean Chamber of Commerce. They're going to hold a census town hall. We're giving them money for that. We just heard from the American Chinese Association. They wanted to have some special Chinese language brochures. They wanted to have a Chinese social media presence to reach out to the Chinese community. We're helping support that. We have funds. We have materials. We think the best way to support this is through trusted community partners that are trusted voices in their community. People who are wary of the government. We're still the government, right? Even if we're promoting it in your school at a Friday night basketball game. So I just wanted to come before you, let you know we're working hard on it. You'll see some new things on it. Within the month, every county page will have that banner, Count on Macomb. Because a lot of people Google. They Google county clerk, Macomb. They end up on that page. They won't see our main banner. So every presence, whether it's digital or in person, you go to the clerks, you go to the courts, you're going to see something about Count on Macomb. You're going to get something in your normal course of business. Through our operations at Community Action, we're working to reach the hard-to-reach people across the county. We're working with our National Census Office, but we just wanted to make sure we came before you to keep you apprised and also ask you, do you know a trusted community partner within your district you think would be a good organization to reach out to ask them if they could do something for the census with our support and funding? So that's a quick of it. Happy to take questions, but I know I only had 3 minutes, so don't want to abuse the time.
You're over that, but it's okay. Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Just one, have you discussed with the cities about putting this in their water bills?
The water bills, no, that's a good one.
Because that's no extra postage, and that's how they put out
Yeah.
important information. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Sterling Heights is doing it already, Commissioner Kleinfeld. Sterling Heights is doing it, I just received one.
That's great. And we have reached out to the macro group. That's the Macomb Area Communities for Regional Opportunity. I think that's their acronym. That involves, Sterling Heights and some of those other ones. We reached out to them collectively and said, what would you like? We heard from them they want some car clings for all the municipal vehicles, and they wanted a bunch of those pamphlets to send out. I didn't inquire with them how they were going to distribute them, so I'll ask about the water bill.
I would, I know East Point does that, I would at least with East Point, ask them if they'd be willing to put
Sure.
this in the water.
Yeah.
Thank you. Chair Smith?
Thanks for coming, Ernest. I was thinking the churches, and I don't know if you're dealing with many
Sure.
of them, but they're a captive audience, and the people, trust what
Yeah.
the priest, the pastor is saying. So, I mean, if everybody would reach out maybe to their churches
Sure.
and talk to their pastor, that would be a good
Yeah.
little plug for them.
That's a great idea. I know we're working with some of the interfaith groups. If you have a group that's meeting, it's easier to reach a lot of congregations. We're working with the Ministerial Alliance. But if you have any church in your district is well attended, let us know and we'll do some specific outreach to them.
Thank you. Commissioner Drugé?
Thank you. Ernest, there's, every second Monday of the month, we have the Warren Centerline Senior Connection. They have a meeting tonight at the Carlos at 6 o'clock. I will be there. It might not be a bad idea to get a couple of copies of this
Yeah.
so we can put it in their mailer that they mail out every month.
You want some copies after this meeting?
Sure.
Yeah, we have a few thousand of those copies.
I don't need a few thousand, but I'd appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank
yeah,
you,
thanks
Mr.
for
Chair.
that.
Thank you. Ernest, thank you very much for
Thank
coming.
you. Appreciate
Thank
it. And feel free to reach out to me if you think of a community organization as a trusted voice within a certain community that could use it. We're looking for partners, and we're looking to make sure that we're supporting our community.
Ernest, if you could do us something and maybe email Crystal and outline the things you mentioned tonight
Sure.
as far as maybe churches or organizations or whatever
Absolutely.
it is, then she'll distribute it with your information to the rest of the Board of
That'd be
Commissioners.
great.
That way everybody will have your contact
All right,
information.
thank you all.
Thank you. New business commissioners, Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Thank you, Chair. Just MAC-related, next week on the 18th, I'm meeting with the clerks and Register of Deeds counterparts to myself and the executive, and our staff will be there for that as well. And then the week after, I'm meeting with the sheriffs and the prosecutors, and we discuss areas where we may have points of contention with each other, as well as get ideas from them over things that are extremely important to them that MAC needs to know about when they're lobbying up there, to see if they're in common with us, that we can. MAC has a little bit louder voice, I think, than they do than their lobbyists, not than they do. They're pretty powerful. But so that's very productive. And then on the 29th through the 3rd, I'll be back in Washington, one for a NACO meeting, obviously with legislators, and then we're having a meeting just with Peters and Stabenow. And I've been invited, I just opened it up today, to a meeting, and I'm going to see if I can make this, is for counties that have military installations within them. So that's one I'm very interested in, to see what NACO is working on with respect to that. I just wanted to let you guys know what I'm up to this month with regard to MAC. And then the last thing with that is MAC will be holding their June meeting here in our county. We're working out the details. I think Hackle wanted them to see contact, maybe hold a meeting there. I think JP thought the Nature Center would be nice. Steve's got to call into me now to go over a lot of those. I guess we got to go over what is it that we want and the details. And I even thought this wouldn't be a bad meeting room. And we are hoping to take the entire MAC board and the staff to the air show at Selfridge to talk to them about the importance of that military installation as well. So we'll keep you posted, because it would be nice to see you guys be able to attend a MAC meeting when they come here. So we're working on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other new business? Commissioner, I'm sorry, I thought you were going for the motion to adjourn. I apologize. Commissioner
No, that's
Drugé.
after public participation. Last week in Madison Heights, they had a meeting about electroplating services and the green ooze that was going on 696. Actually, it's pretty surprising on what's been going on there. Between the EPA, Eagle, the city of Madison Heights, the county of Macomb, of Oakland rather, and on. what I thought was very interesting is that so far, amount of liquid that's been taken off-site is 47,405 gallons. They are estimating a total volume of 63,929 gallons of very bad poison coming out of there. Now, the EPA did not consider it a Superfund site because it was not polluting any wells, so any water that people were going to drink didn't apply to this. But the first place that this can end up at is at the Bear Creek Drain in Macomb County. It's 11 miles away from Lake St. Clair. Between the EPA and Eagle, they've basically cut off the ability for this stuff to get into the drains and into the sewers and into the water system. It was a very, very interesting meeting in Madison Heights. There were a little over 300 people there, and a lot of responsible people from Oakland County and a couple from Macomb. I think it's important that we keep our eye on this and we take a look at everything and anything that can be done. They are monitoring the water at Bear Creek Drain, which is the closest place to it. And my understanding is that it's like between 0.1 and 0.5 parts per billion at Bear Creek at this point of time. So if there is any more news about this, I will keep the board informed of this. I think it might not be a bad idea to have somebody from Eagle or EPA come and give us a presentation on it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Brown.
Thank you, Commissioner Dujay, for that update. That's important things that they're doing there. That's one area where they're actually doing something to help Macomb County out. That's give them extended our thanks. I doubt they want to come up here though to be put through the ringer of the Board of Commissioners after what they're giving grief on Chappatin. But who in Macomb County has the best relationship with the governor? That's what I want to know. This speaks to Chappatin because my state representative Doug Wise has been very involved with this and paying attention, sending him information, acting with Candace Miller's office. He stands ready to introduce legislation if that's what is the preferred method to go about
Who
this.
did you say that? That was
State
Doug?
Representative Doug Wozniak. He's been very patient.
Well, Candace did say, I asked her what's the next step, and she said we just sort of need to wait and figure out in writing, thanks to you, where they're at with Eagle. So I think that until Candace says we need to move in this direction, we're going to wait. But
She doesn't want to pull that trigger.
she doesn't want to do that now, but we need to have, she did say this, that she obviously has a good rapport with the Republican leadership in the House and the Senate, and if she needed to, she can jam it through, but you don't want to do it that way. You want to be smart and have Hertel be a sponsor, Churkin, maybe Marino, maybe Wozniak, and then do it that way. And then get support by Staben 11 and Peters.
It's really
So then
amazing
it
how
goes to
can
the
be so hard
governor
to
and
have somebody understands something so basic to the average citizen of the county that should even be an issue, but we'll stand by.
Right, that's exactly what we got to do. And she's not giving up. We all, I said to her, don't give up. She's like,
We
I'm
all
not,
are-
I'm
we
fighting
all- We all
this.
want to have our hand in this. We can help, if we can help. We don't want to make it worse by inflaming the situation either, so. Thank you for the updates.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I just want to follow up on Don's question, if I may.
Okay.
Thanks. Rob's right. The gun's loaded, the bullets are in it. Until they say no means no, any preemptive action may make the situation worse. I talked to her about it at the State of the State. She said she's going to wait until she has the final resolution from Eagle. She wants to make sure all of the timing requirements were met satisfactory, all the requests for applications were put in on time, and you have the Army Corps of Engineers that needs to get involved in this as well. For
That's
the
right, it's
drain
their
itself.
waterfront, by the way.
That's correct. So the conversation has not switched in the last 2 weeks, let's put it that way. Everybody's ready to go if that's needed. And explaining to Rob, to put legislation through, even with Republican friends, you may have Republican friends and Democratic friends in Macomb County, but I can tell you the priority of those guys in the UP and up north and them, it's not anything that's going to be pushed through rapidly. Took me 2.5 years to get a bill through, and I ended up with a 109-1 vote. And don't mention what it was.
Well, you were from Roseville.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Don. That made it work well.
Thank you, Commissioner. Chair Smith?
Yeah, way to start the fireworks, Harold. Couple things. Our pre-meeting, talking about our legislative priorities, I thought went well for the first meeting. I hope everybody's going to join us on one of the next couple so we can all get together. I think it was a really good start for this year, and I plan on, I think everybody does, kind of keeping it moving. And one of the big important things is working on the budget as early as we can and trying not to have what happened this year or last year happen this year, except for the fact that we did gain a few steps in some of the things that we wanted. So, I mean, obviously there's some good things, but the way it went to the end, we think we maybe can help, maybe we can do something about that. Second, you all got an invitation from the executive's office about, I think for next Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday to meet with them about some updates on the jail. There were some different times. They emailed it out. And anyway, so my point to this whole thing is I talked to Mark Delden after that and thought, I said, we could offer up a workshop next Thursday before our meeting, and that way it's, held in the room over there. Yes?
So we don't have a meeting next Thursday?
Yeah, we do. We don't have a meeting this Thursday. We have a meeting next Thursday. So I looked at maybe, and I'm waiting for an answer for them so that we don't have to all try to figure out different times to come here and meet on that, and we can actually meet on it all together so we hear the same thing. But, we see how well attended our workshops are except for us, so it would, in essence, be a meeting like this, with all of this audience. So I'm going to wait to hear from him. You guys can obviously respond on any particular days that you want to, but I'm trying to make it so that we can all meet on the same day that we have a meeting and be in the same room together to hear it. And last, so just to go on your point of this Thursday, we're trying to combine meetings when we can. This week we pulled Thursday's meeting and tied it into Wednesdays. We'll see how next week works, and we'll go from there.
Thank you.
All right.
Moving on with no new bit.
For the chair, Mr. Firecracker, before any of us respond back to HACO, should we wait until we see if we can get the combined meeting?
Yeah, that's fine. And that way we
Yeah.
don't, I guess, so maybe just wait on response, because
I responded today.
All right,
I
well,
responded this afternoon, being the efficient guy that I am.
Oh, we know you responded all.
Wednesday.
yeah, you were here right on time, too. So,
You're the guy that still got your microphone on, Mr. Efficient over there?
yes, Mr.
Yeah, so I wanna
Efficient,
make sure
you're
everyone hears
wasting
me.
energy.
I'll make sure everyone hears
So how
me.
about if we haven't responded, just hold off. I'll try to get an answer from them by tomorrow, and then we'll get it out to everybody.
First of all, I just want to say, I'm sorry.
Otherwise, Jim's gonna get 13 responses and be upset. Thank you.
Noted.
I just want to say thank you for that, because I've talked about this in the past. If I don't get the benefit of hearing your questions and you don't get the benefit of hearing mine, then we're losing something in the process. So thank you for that.
No other new business, and I see no one in the audience for public participation, so we'll move on to there. Number 9, we need a motion to adjourn. Motion by Commissioner Romano, supported by Commissioner Kleinfeld. Please vote.